Yes, so we're here to speak about Tower Bridge Court, brand new development in SE1 in London. Currently breaking all records in rent records in that area at the moment. Highly sustainable, highly innovative. And I'll just give a bit of background on who I am, who Node are, and then I'll let Basil introduce himself and for partnership as well. So Node are a smart technology infrastructure layer. So we do passive fiber networks within buildings. We also do converged networks within buildings and Wi-Fi as three separate individual service lines that can be wrapped up into a full stack solution if you choose to do them all together. We've done multiple buildings with Basil now, very trusted, integrated relationship, but this is the first building where we've integrated a lot of different technology with smart spaces applications, Metricus sensors. Our parent company, Shared Access, have put mobile boosting into the asset, so we've integrated a lot of different technology into the building itself, and we're here to talk about what the benefits are to the occupier, to Basil himself, and to anybody coming into the building. I'm the COO of Node, and I'll let Basil introduce himself.
Yeah, hi everyone. Nice to be here, and thanks for the invitation, Russ. So I'm Basil Demeroutis. I'm managing partner of For Partnership. We're an investor developer based here in London, operating across the UK. We operate mostly in the office sector. I think we're best known for our focus on innovation and sustainability in combination. So we drive down carbon and we try to drive up social impact in our buildings through a very deep thinking around everything that comes into our building, be it on the embodied carbon side or on the operational carbon side. Obviously, technology plays a key role in that, and as you said, Russ, very proud of our long-standing multi-year, multi-building relationship that we've developed. TBC London, as we call it, is a 110,000 square foot office retrofit on the bank of the Thames, just at Tower Bridge. It's a project we've been working on for the last 6 or 7 years, just reached practical completion earlier this summer. And very pleased with how it's turned out from a sustainability standpoint in particular, where it's probably one of the lowest carbon buildings in London, net zero carbon in operation, and all of the bells, whistles, and certificates that you could possibly wish for.
Perfect. So we want to start with what the vision was with the building. Basil's briefly touched on the sustainability goals, the certifications that it's achieved, and how well it's done at the end, but we want to take a step back and look at where that started. We've done a number of buildings with Basil, but this one's very different in how it delivered its services. So just a question to you, Basil, on what was the thought process behind your technology stack? How did that fit into wider sustainability goals, and what was the vision for Partnership on TBC London?
Yeah, I think the vision was first and foremost to create the lowest carbon building that we could, to create a building that was innovative and technology forward, and that's really at the core of the True North message that we wanted to have at TBC London. And so we pushed a lot of innovation there, not only just with you, but in materials and material science. We've had a number of first-of-a-kind deployments in the building, from tiles on the floor that are made from bacteria to paint on the walls that purifies the air and takes greenhouse gases out. So I think it's a wholesale vision around technology and innovation. I think that's our superpower really as a firm, is around innovation. And so when we think about innovation, you turn over all the stones of where innovation can turn up, and clearly the digital stack is important. And so the vision there was to make it seamless, to make it integrated, and to make our customer experience, our user experience, from tenants to guests in the building, feel that sort of seamless pathway through the building, whether it's coming into the building and how they enter the building, to how they provision their own services and how they use data and technology themselves within their own business.
I think an important point to pick up there is that we've not ended with the building infrastructure at TBC London. All services that we've put into the asset, so we've put additional capacity into our fibre backbone to support Basil's requirement, not just now, but over the next 5 and 10 years. I don't think anybody developing a building now, Basil might say a little bit different because he is forward thinking, fully knows what they're going to be doing in the next 5 to 10 years. We built future capacity into that backbone to support the journey of smart technology. All services are also extendable to those occupier demises, so we have shared access doing mobile boosting, which can be extended into tenant demises, smart spaces with their building application and tenant experience application, which again is extendable to the demises. It's all integratable and all aimed towards that enhanced customer experience model that is really the forefront of what For Partnership are doing and the way they like to drive this approach, the technical approach forward. So the next thing we want to touch on is that integration of different services and how you've experienced that, and maybe what the pros and cons are from past experiences in buildings, but how that's improved on TBC London. So experiencing how all the technology's been brought together and how efficient that's been.
Yeah, I think for us, that's been the best part of the relationship that we've had with Node over the years, is that I use the word backbone, but it really is the physical backbone, but it's also the spiritual backbone of the technology stack within the building. And I think in many ways, Node and the fiber backbone in the building has been the center for integrating all of these other things. I mean, everyone out there and upstairs and whatever ultimately hang off your network, and the ability to integrate that for us has been the greatest power, I think, of what you guys have all delivered. It's complicated. You know, you walk into a building, we want to use our smartphones now to go through the speed gates, you want to use it on the lifts, you want to have Wi-Fi, you want to have mobile boosters, you want to have air quality sensors, people sensors, you have a BMS system that needs to run. All of these things have to be integrated, and I think to your credit, you've actually done a lot of the systems integration work for us. Don't charge us more for it next time, by the way, but which has really been important, because this stuff just doesn't automatically work. You know, it's complicated, and if someone's delivering a speed gate and it has to have a QR code and it doesn't work because the network's not configured correctly, you know, who's at fault and who fixes it? And I think, you know, you guys have been great in helping to integrate a lot of these different solutions. I think the other thing I would say, just from a technical standpoint, and this is probably where I start to get a bit out of my depth, but having one harmonized and unified data network is so important. You know, the BMS guys come in and they try to put it on their network. You've got your network, Wi-Fi works on something else. We've actually forced everyone who's putting any bits in the building to run on your network, and we've done that actually at CADWorks 6-7 years ago in Scotland as well. I think it's so important, because as data starts to become a real valued commodity, having control over the network, no matter who's using it. You wouldn't have electricity cables for one company and then a different set of electricity cables for another company. So it's important to have a harmonized network, and you guys at the core of that, controlling it.
Thank you. So the next point, and I know we've touched on it briefly already, and we've talked about occupier experience and how we think that's benefited them from Node's side of things. From your experience, I know TBC is filling up quickly, but we've had CADWorks in the past. We've had a number of assets as well. What do you think the core occupier benefits are, whether that be speed to service, whether that be a sustainability standpoint, whether that be a reduction in installation costs because Node are actively completing our installations? What do you think, if you had to pick the two most important things, what would you hit on?
Yeah, I think a lot of it's plug and play. Like, most people don't understand, most of what's happening out there and in the other rooms here and other stages. So I think they just want it to work. They want it to switch on their phone and it to get internet, and for it to be fast, and most of all, when they go through their due diligence, to make sure that it's resilient, and that there's not going to be a time when stuff's going to stop working. So they've got like a detailed checklist now that they go through. So they look at our two comms rooms, which look like you could launch a space shuttle from them. They're resilient, they're waterproof, they're bomb-proof, it seems like. I don't know what's going on down there, but they're pretty cool. And they look at the fiber and they see that it's easy to connect, and they see it's easy to provision. So this is all for us a big selling point. And again, back to the brief, if my brand and the building's brand is about innovation, I need to weaponize that, and that's what we do. It's not just about it's easy to provision or it's lower cost. It actually gets to the core of what we're selling. and what we're selling is innovation, and it's part of our brand. And I think that's enabled us to get to 65% pre-let down there and hit £100 a square foot rent, which is a record for Southwark.
Perfect. So just to wrap up, we will try, if we can, if we've got enough time at the end, to open the floor up to any questions. But the final point is looking forward. I think we've pushed boundaries sustainability-wise, digitally, innovation-wise. What do you see next? In the next building that you do, is there anywhere else we could innovate? But at the same time, what advice would you give to someone starting from scratch today, their smart technology journey? What do they need to integrate? Where's their roadmap start?
Yeah, look, I think what's important is that you have a flexible network and a system that you can hang anything off of, and whether that's a people count sensor or a sensor that hasn't been even yet invented, or an app. I think all of these things need to sit somewhere, and I think that has to sit within the physical digital infrastructure of the building. I think ultimately where we're heading towards is a world in which actually data becomes incredibly valuable. I think we're generating now so much data out of our buildings. We just don't know what to do with it, actually, and we don't know how to understand it. But I think we're going to get to a point in the not too distant future where actually data becomes the most valuable asset, even more valuable than the bricks and mortar, and maybe more valuable even than rent in the building. And I think if that's your view, it certainly is our vision, then I think then the network and the digital ecosystem in which resides inside your buildings becomes absolutely vital.
I've just got one to add from our side, pretty selfishly, because of what we do and how we do it. There's a lot, obviously we're all here at PropTech Connect, there's a lot of shiny solutions and software development applications upstairs and sensors and tech. I think if I was giving advice to somebody who's starting their smart building journey now, I'd look at their core infrastructure, I'd look at how the building works and what you require right now to make that sexy side, the smart applications, everything else, the sensors that shine on the ceilings actually work. If you fail on that piece, you can't do what comes after for everything that we're looking at around the PropTech Connect now. So I think it's vital that you start with a trusted partner, they advise you well, and that core infrastructure, which is a utility now, it sits alongside power and electricity and water. You get the fundamentals there right, and everything else will fall into place. We've got 2 minutes if anybody does want to ask any questions.
Hi. You talk about, Basil this is, you talk about innovation, that you're innovative. Now 10 years ago, smartphones weren't that smart. We thought they were at the time. In 10 years' time, who knows what technology you'll be wanting in your building. I suppose the question is, it all sounds great, but how future-proof can current fibre optics or whatever it is be? Are you satisfied that Node, for example, can make you fit for purpose with your innovations in whichever building in 10 years' time?
Yeah, I am. Obviously, there's it's a relatively generic, without any disrespect, pipe that they're putting in the building that you could put anything through. So as long as that pipe is theoretically big enough and fast enough, it's resilient. And I think we've seen, whether it's fiber coming across the Atlantic or whatever it may be, these things have sat there for 20, 30, 40 years. So I think as long as we're putting enough pipe in the building and lighting up enough fiber, I think we're in pretty good shape.
It goes to my point as well earlier on. It's that capacity to enable you then to react to what very little people know today is what's going to happen in the next 5-10 years. It's having that spare, resilient technology capacity in your building to enable Basil and the team and any other client to react to what they want to do in the next 5-10 years, not what they want to do right now. It's looking forward rather than sorting your problem for the here and now. You've got 18 seconds.
You mentioned social impact. I understand, carbon neutrality. Could you elaborate a bit more about how what you've done at Tower Bridge Court impacts social impact?
Yeah, well, I think it's in lots of different aspects and probably worthy of a longer answer. But in short, it's how we also procure and build the buildings. So we do it with local labor, apprenticeships, bring people along on the journey. We find companies that are maybe young startups, give them a chance. And then operationally within the space, we actually have about 3,500 square feet, which we call an urban village hall. And we allow community groups and social enterprises and schools, arts, culture, come in and use that space for free. We curate that with them, and then we bring the occupiers along on the journey with us and those organizations as well, volunteering exercises and opportunities and helping them discover their social purpose. So it's multidimensional, but also, of course, technology is a key part of that, upskilling and teaching people about the new economy, digital economy. So that's a key part of it, and that's where Node also plays an important part.
Thank you very much.